Ju ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutara Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutara Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutara Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashutara Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Vishnupad Ashutara Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's purports ki jai. This is the very last purport. Let me just, 1 second. So this is what we are reading today, the very last purport of Srila Prabhupada's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, chapter 13. So, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Nilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradaya Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishna Krishna Bhaktaya Tar Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang pravrajantamanupeta krityam dvaipayano viraha katara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo bhinedu stang sarvabhuta hridaya munimanutosmi narayanam namaskritya narang chava narottamam devim saraswatim vyas Sam tato jayamudirayet Shrinvatang svaka Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridantastoya Badrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityang Bhagavatevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhagir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi tavaevasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptashtakama ditaranga madhe kripa maitvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanaravindam bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Haribo, Madhavi Didi, Sudevi Didi, and Raseshwari Mataji, Dandavat pranams to all of you. Sorry, I'm extra late today. Anyhow, if you're just coming now, anybody, we're doing the last chapter of all of Srila Purports and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is the 13th chapter. So it's this book here we'll be reading. It will probably take 3 days to get through this, 3 or 4 days to get through this. But yeah, a little bit sad that this is the last chapter of Srila Prabhupada's purports. But anyways, yeah, I'm what to say. I'm just really grateful that they've been able to make it point. Huh, that's strange. I wonder if I made a mistake here. No, it's okay. I was having a difficult time logging on before. The internet was hopefully it's okay now. No, internet doesn't seem to be working. Okay, looks like the internet's back. Yes, internet's back. Great. Okay, the stealing of boys and calves by Brahmā. This chapter describes, This chapter describes Lord Brahma's attempt to take away the calves and cowherd boys, and it also describes the bewilderment of Lord Brahma, and finally, the clearance of his illusion. Although the incident concerning Aghasura had been performed before, when the cowherd boys were 5 years old, when they were 6 years old. Okay, so even though this incident concerned 1 year before when the cowherd boys were 5 years old, when they were 6 years old, they said, it happened today. What happened was this. After killing Aghasura, Krishna, along with his associates, the cowherd boys, went for a picnic within the forest. The calves, being allured by green grasses, gradually went far away, and therefore Krishna's associates became a little agitated and wanted to bring back the calves. Krishna, however, encouraged the boys by saying, You take your tiffin without being agitated. I shall go to find the calves. Tiffin means breakfast. It's an old British term, I think, right? Dated or Indian. A snack or light meal. Tiffin. Yeah, they still say it here in Bengal a lot. Amara tiffin korchi. Thus the Lord departed. Then, just to examine the potency of Krishna, Lord Brahma took away all the calves and cowherd boys and kept them in a secluded place. When Krishna was unable to find the calves and boys, he could understand that this was a trick performed by Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. In order to please Lord Brahma, as well as his own associates and their mothers, expanded himself to become the calves and boys, exactly as they were before. In this way, he discovered another pastime. A special feature of this pastime was that the mothers of the cowherd boys thus became more attached to their respective sons, and the cows became more attached to their calves. After nearly a year, Baladev observed that all the cowherd boys and calves were expansions of Krishna. Thus he inquired from Krishna and was informed of what had happened. When 1 full year had passed, Brahma returned and saw that Krishna was still engaged as usual with his friends and the calves and cows. Then Krishna exhibited all the calves and cowherd boys as four-armed forms of Narayan. Brahma could then understand Krishna's potency, and he was astonished by the pastimes of Krishna, his worshipable Lord. Krishna, however, bestowed his causeless mercy upon Brahma and released him from illusion. Thus Brahma began to offer prayers to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shri Shuka Uvacha Sadhu Prishta Mahabhaga Tvaya Bhagavatottama Yanutanna Yanutanaya Sishasya Shrinpi Katang Mukmuhu. Srila Shuka. O best of devotees, most fortunate Parikshit, you have inquired very nicely, for although constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, your activities to be newer and newer. And his question was, how is it, right? Wasn't this his question from the previous chapter? Is how is it that the cowherd boys said this happened, that the killing of Aghasura just happens today, even though they're a year older? And so this is the reason. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada ki jai. Unless one is very advanced in Krishna consciousness, one cannot stick to hearing the pastime of the Lord constantly. Nityang Nava Navaya Manam. Even though advanced devotees hear continually about the Lord for years, they still feel that these topics are coming to them newer and fresher. Therefore, such devotees cannot give up hearing the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Premanjana Churita Bhagavachanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. The word Santa is used to refer to persons who have developed love. Yam Shama Sunda Guna Sarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamahang Bhajami. That's from Brahma Samhita, verse 38. Parikshit Maharaj, therefore, is addressed as Bhagavatottama, the best of devotees. Because unless one is very much elevated in devotional service, one cannot feel ecstasy from hearing more and more and appreciate the topics as ever fresher and newer. Satam ayam sarabhritam nisargo yadartavani shruti chetasamaphi pratikshanam navya varachutasya yat striya vitanam iva sadhuvara. Paramahamsas, devotees who have accepted the essence of life, are attached to Krishna in the core of their hearts, and he is the very aim of their lives. It is their nature to talk only of Krishna at every moment, as if such topics were newer and newer. They are attached to such topics, just as materialists are attached to topics of women and... It's a really interesting verse. I love this prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur though. Vishay je priti eche amar, she mata priti hok charane tumar. Extends that I am attached that I love the objects of my senses, that I love Vishaya, enjoying, have the same attachment for you, O Lord, for your lotus feet. Our love, that's priti, right? Yeah. Purport. The word Sarabratam means Paramahansas. The Hansa, or swan, accepts milk from a mixture of milk and water and rejects the water. Similarly, the nature of persons who have taken to spiritual life and Krishna consciousness, understanding Krishna to be the life and soul of everyone, is that they cannot give up Krishna Katha, or topics about Krishna, at any moment. Such Paramahansas always see Krishna within the core of the heart. Santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Kama, desires, krodha, anger, and bhai, always present in the material world. But in the spiritual or transcendental world, one can use them for Krishna. Krishna kamarpane. The desire of the Paramahansas, therefore, is to act always for Krishna. Krodam bhakta dveshi jane. They use anger against the non-devotees and transform bhai into fear. And they transform bhai, or fear, into fear of being deviated from Krishna consciousness. The life of a Paramahansa devotee is used entirely for Krishna, just as the life of a person attached to the material world is used simply for women and money. What is day for the materialistic person is night for the spiritualist. What is very for the materialist, women and money, is regarded as poison by the spiritualist. Sandarshanam vishayam atayoshitam cha ahanta hanta vishabhakshanato pyasadu. This is the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For the Paramahansa, Krishna is everything, but for the materialist, women and money are everything. Oh, and Dandavat pranams to Rup Manjari Didi if she ever gets reading this. And in Tira Mataji. Shrinu Svavahito Rajan Api Guhyam Vadamite Bruhyus Snigdasya Shishyasya Guravo Guhyamapyuta. O King, kindly hear me with great attention. Although the activities of the Supreme Lord are very confidential, no ordinary man being able to understand them, I shall speak about them to you, for spiritual masters explain to a submissive disciple even subject matter essential and difficult to understand. Tatagavadanam ripyo rakshitva vatsapalakan sarit pulinam aniya an idham abravit. Then, after saving the boys and calves from the mouth of Aghasura, who was death personified, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, brought them all to the bank of the river and Ahotiram yang pulinam vayasya swakeli sampanidulachalukam sputsaro gandha ritali patrika dhani pratidhana lasad drumakulam. My dear friends, just see how the riverbank is extremely beautiful because of its pleasing atmosphere. And just see, blooming lotuses are attracting bees and birds by their aroma. The humming and chirping of birds is echoing throughout the beautiful trees in the forest. Also, here, the sands are clean and soft. Therefore, this must be considered the best place for our sporting and pastimes. Purport. The description of Vrindavan forest as given herewith was spoken by Krishna 5,000 years ago, and the same condition prevailed during the time of the Vaishnava Acharyas 300 or 400 years ago. Kujat kokila hangsa sarasagana kirne mayura kule. Vrindavan forest is always filled with the chirping and cooing of birds like cuckoos, kokil, ducks, hangsa, and cranes, sarasa, and is and is and it is also full of peacocks, mayura kule. The same sounds and atmosphere still prevail in the area where our Krishna temple is situated. Everyone who visits this temple is pleased with the chirping of the birds as described here. Kujat kokila hangsa sarasa. Is my internet working? That's strange. Anyways, I can't even see any comments. So if you have anything to say to me, there, I'm logged back in. Okay, let me know if it's cutting out too much, and then we can continue reading tomorrow. Atra bhoktavyam asmavir devarudham kshudar ardita vatsa samipe papitva charantu shantrinam. I think we should take our lunch here, since we are already hungry because the time is very late. Here the calves may drink water and go slowly here and there and eat the grass. One thing, guys, I just remember there's something kind of urgent. Just give me 1 second. Right, I just remembered something. Sorry about this, guys. It's kind of urgent, though. All right. Thank you. Back to reading. Where are we? Yeah, okay. It's here. Tateti paya yitparba teti payitparba vatsan arudashadvale muktva shikyani bubhuju samang bhagavata muda. Accepting Lord Krishna's proposal, the cowherd boys allowed the calves to drink from the river and then tied them to trees where there was green, tender grass. Then the boys opened their baskets of food and began eating with Krishna in great transcendental pleasure. Krishna se vishvak pururaji mandalar abhyana pula vajar bhaka sahopavishta vipine vire jus chadayatambo ruharnikaya. Like the whirl of a lotus flower surrounded by its petals and leaves, Krishna encircled by lines of his friends, who all looked very beautiful. Every one of them was trying to look forward to Krishna, thinking that Krishna might look toward him. In this way, they all enjoyed their lunch in the forest. Purport. To a pure devotee, Krishna is visible, as stated in the Brahmā Samhita, Santa Sadaiva Hridaya Vilokayanti, and is indicated by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvata Pani Padam Tat Sarvato Kshi Shiro Mukham. If by accumulating pious activities, Krita Punya Punja, one is raised to the devotional service, Krishna is always visible in the core of one's heart. One who has attained such perfection is all beautiful and transcendental bliss. The present Krishna consciousness movement is an attempt to keep Krishna in the center. For if this is done, all activities will automatically become beautiful and blissful. And there's a picture on the cover of this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, of this verse right here. See, there's Krishna taking his lunch with all the cowherd boys. And just one second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Kechit pushper dalai kechit pallarai palai shigbhistvag trishadbhischa bubhuju krita bhajana. Among the cowherd boys, some placed their lunch on flowers, some on leaves. Fruits are bunches of leaves, some actually in their baskets, some on the bark of trees, and some on rocks. This is what the children imagined to be their plates, as they ate their lunch. And there's a place that we go to on Brahmā, Bhojan Thali Raj Mandal. Let's see if there's any picture comes. Images. You can see where. There are no pictures here. There's Bali. So this is, see the picture here? This is like see all the cowherd boys, they would find different rocks and things, and the rocks would be formed in the form of bowls and plates and stuff, so the cowherd boys could eat directly on the rocks. And this is a place of Brajmandal where we have bowls and cups and everything in the rocks themselves. Bhojan Thali. Sarve mito darshayanta swasa bhojya ruchim pratak hasto hasayantascha bhyavajahru saheshvara. All the cowherd boys enjoyed their lunch with Krishna, showing one another the different tastes of the dips of prep they had brought from. Tasting one another's preparations, they began to laugh and make one another laugh. Purport. Sometimes one friend would say, "Krishna, see how my food is relishable." And Krishna would take some and laugh. Similarly, Balaram, Sudama, and friends would taste one another's food and laugh. In this way, the friends jubilantly began to eat their respective preparations brought from home. Bibradvenum jatarapayo shringavetre kakshe vame pano masrivam atpalan gulishu tishtan madhe saparisurido hasaya narma bhisai swarge loke mishati bhubuje yagya bhalakeli. Krishna is Yapuk, that is, he eats only offering, but zipped his childhood pastimes. He now sat with his flute tucked between his waist and his tight cloth on his right side, and with his horn bugle and cow driving stick on his left, holding in his hands a very preparation of yogurt and rice, with pieces of suitable fruit between his fingers. He sat at the whirl of a lotus flower, looking forward toward all his friends, personally joking with them and creating jubilant laughter among them as he ate. At that time, the denizens of heaven were watching, struck with wonder at how the personality of Godhead, who eats only in yoga, was now eating with his friends in the forest. Purport. When Krishna was eating with his cowherd boyfriends, a certain bumblebee came there to take part in the eating. Thus Krishna joked, "Why have you come to disturb my Brahmin friend Madhumangal? You want to kill a Brahmin? This is good." All the boys would laugh and enjoy, speaking such joking words while eating. Thus the inhabitants of the higher planets were astonished at how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who eats only when yajna is offered, was now eating like an ordinary child with his forest. Bharatavai Vatsupeshu Bharataivam Vatsapeshu Punjane Chutatmasu Vatsastvantarvane Duram Vivishustrena Lobhita. O Maharaj Parikshit, while the cowherd boys who knew nothing within the core of their heart were thus engaged in eating their lunch in the forest, calves went far away, deep. Tan drishtva bhaya santran uche krishnasya bhayam mitran nashan ma viramate mitashan ma viram whatever haneshye vatsakan aham. When Krishna saw that his friends, the cowherd boys, were frightened, he, the fierce controller of even fear itself, said, just to mitigate their fear, "My dear, do not stop eating. I shall bring your calves back to this spot by personally going after them myself." Purport. In the presence of Krishna's friendship, a devotee cannot have any fear. Krishna is the supreme controller, the controller of even death, which is supposed to be the ultimate material world. Bhayam ditya bhiniveshata syat. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11:2-37. This fear arises because of lack of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there cannot be any fear. For one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, this material world the fear becomes hardly dangerous at all. Pavam buddhair vatsa padam param padam 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 yad vipadam natesham. Bhavam buddhi, the material ocean of fear, becomes very easy to cross by the supreme controller. This material world in which there is fear and danger at every padam padam yad vipadam is not meant for those who have taken shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. Such persons are delivered from this fearful world. Samashitaye padapallavam mahat padam punya yasho murare bhavam buddhir vatsa padam param padam yad vipadam natesham. That comes in the next chapter, chapter 14. Everyone, therefore, should take shelter of the Supreme Person, who is the source of fearlessness, and thus be secure. Text 14. Ityuktva dari kunja gavareshvatma vatsakan vichinvan bhagavan Krishna sapani kavalo. Let me go and search for the calves, Krishna said. Don't disturb your enjoyment. Then, carrying his yogurt and rice in his hand, the personality of Godhead, Krishna, immediately went out to search for the calves of his friends. To please his friends, he began searching in mountain caves, bushes, and narrow passages. Purport. The Vedas, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.8, assert that the supremacy of Godhead has nothing to do personally. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, because he is doing everything through his energies and potencies. Parasya shaktir vividhaiva shruyate. Nonetheless, here we see that he took personal care to find the calves of his friends. This was Krishna's causeless mercy. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacham. All the affairs of the world and the entire cosmic manifestation are working under his direction through his different energies. Still, when there is a need to take care of his friends, he does this personally. Krishna assured his friends, "Don't be afraid personally to search for your calves." This was Krishna's causeless mercy. Ambo janma tarantaragato bhak mayar bhakasyeshito drashto manjo mahitvam anyad apitar vatsan ito vatsapan. Sorry. Netvanyatra netva. Oh God, what's the meter for this? Nanyatra guru dvahantara dhadatke vastito yapura. Sorry. Drishtva gasura mokshanam prabhavata prapta parang vismayam. I think I know this meter. It's goes na 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 na. Let me just try one time to see if I can do it. Drishtva gasura mokshanam. No, I think it's called Sragdhara. I'm not so familiar with it, but yes, Sragdhara. I have to try that later. Oh Maharaj Parikshit. Brahma, who had a higher planetary system in the sky, had observed the activities of the most powerful Krishna in killing and delivering Aghasura, and he was astonished. Now that same Brahma wanted to show some of his own power, see the power of Krishna, who was engaged in his childhood pastimes, playing as if with ordinary cowherd boys. Therefore, in Krishna's presence, Brahma took all the boys and calves to another place, became entangled, for in the very near future, he would see how powerful Krishna was. When Asura was being killed by Krishna, who was accompanied with associates, Brahma was astonished. But when he saw that Krishna was very much enjoying his pastimes of lunch, he was even more astonished and wanted to test whether Krishna was actually there. Thus, he became entangled in Krishna's Maya. After all, Brahma was born materially. As mentioned here, Ambho Janma Jani. He was born of Amboja, a lotus flower. It is that he was a lotus and not of any man, animal, or material father. A lotus is also material, and if anyone born through the material energy must be subject to the four material deficiencies: Brahma, the tendency to commit mistakes; Brahma, the tendency to be illusioned; Vipralipsa, the tendency to cheat; and Karanapatav, imperfect senses. Thus Brahma also became entangled. Brahma, with his Maya, wanted to test whether Krishna was actually present. These cowherd boys were but expansions of Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhi. Later, Krishna would show Brahma himself into everything as his personal pleasure, Ananda Chinmaya Ras. Ladini Shaktir Asma. Krishna has a transcendental potency called Ladini Shakti. He does not enjoy anything as a product of the material energy. Brahma, therefore, would see Krishna expand his energy. Brahma wanted to take away Krishna, but instead, he took away some other boys and calves. Ravan wanted to take away Sita, but that was impossible, and instead, he took away a Maya Sita. Similarly, Brahma took away Mayarbhaka, boys manifested by Krishna's Maya. Brahma could show some extraordinary opulence to the Mayarbhaka, but he could not show any extraordinary potency to Krishna's associates. That he would see in the very near future. Mayarbhaksya Ishitu. This bewilderment, this Maya, was caused by the supreme controller, Prabhavata, the all-potent supreme person, Krishna, and we shall see the result. Anyone materially born is subject to bewilderment. This pastime is therefore called Vimohan Lila, the pastime of bewildering Brahma. mohitam na bijanati mam ebhya param avyayam. That's Bhagavad Gita 17. Materially born persons cannot fully understand Krishna. Even the demigods cannot understand him. Mohyanti yat suraya. Nama hridaya adi kavaye. That's the first verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Everyone, from Brahma down to the small insect, must take lessons from Krishna. Tattvavatsan adrishtvait pulinepi chalvatsapan ubhavapi vane Krishna vichikaya samantata. Thereafter, when Krishna was unable to find the calves, he returned to the bank of the river, but there he was also unable to see the cowherd boys. Thus he began to search for both the calves and the boys, as if he could not understand what happened. Purport. Krishna could immediately understand that Brahma had taken away both the calves and the boys. But as an innocent child, he searched here and there so that Brahma could not understand Krishna's Maya. This was all a dramatic performance. A player knows everything, but still he plays on the stage in such a way that others do not understand him. Kvapa drishtvantar vipine vatsan palangscha vishvavit sarvam vidhi kritam Krishna sahasa jagamaha. When Krishna was unable to find the calves and their caretakers, the cowherd boys, anywhere in the forest, he could suddenly understand that this was the work of Lord Brahma. Purport. Although Krishna is the knower of everything happening in the entire cosmic manifestation, as an innocent child, he showed ignorance of actions, although he could immediately understand that these were the doings of Brahma. This pastime is called Brahma Vimohan, the bewilderment of Brahma. Brahma was already bewildered by Krishna's activities as an innocent child, and now he would be further bewildered. Tata Krishna mudang kartung tan matrinam chatkasya cha ubayayitvam atmanam chakre vishva kridishvara. Thereafter, just to create pleasure both for Brahma and for others of the calves and cowherd boys, Krishna, the entire cosmic manifestation, expanded him as calves and boys. Purport. Although Brahma was already entangled in bewilderment, he wanted to show power to the cowherd boys. But after he took away the boys and their calves and returned to the abode, Krishna created further astonishment for Brahma and for the mothers of the boys by establishing the lunch pastimes in the forest again, seeing all the calves and boys, just as they had appeared before. According to the Vedas, Ekam Bahusyam, the personality of God, many, many millions upon millions of calves and cowherd boys, as he did to bewilder Brahma more and more. I don't know the meter for this. Let me just chant. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, Yavar Vatsapa Vatsala Vatsakalapaka Vapur Yavar Karangradikam Yavadyasti Vishana Venu Dalashig Yavar Vibhushambaram Yavachila Gunabhidha Kriti Vayo Yavar Viharadhikam Sarvam Vishnu Mayam Girunga Varaja Sarvasvarupo Bhabho. By his Vasudev feature, Krishna simultaneously expanded himself into the exact number of missing cowboys and calves, with their exact bodily features, their particular types of hands, legs, and other limbs, their sticks, bugles, and flutes, their lunch bags,
their particular types of dress and ornaments placed in various ways, their names, ages, and forms, and their special activities and characteristics. By expanding himself in this way, beautiful Krishna proved the statement, Samagra Jagar Vishnu Mayam. Lord Vishnu is all-pervading. Purport. As stated in the Brahmā Samhita 533, Advaitam Achyutam Anadam Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. Krishna, Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Adyam, the beginning of everything. He is Adi Purusham, the ever-youthful original person. He can expand himself in more forms than one can imagine. Yet he does not fall down from his original form as Krishna. Therefore, he is called Achyuta. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarvam Vishnu Mayam Jagat. Sarva Kala Vidam Brahmā. Krishna thus proves that he is everything, that he can become everything, but that still he is personally different from everything. Matstani Sarvabhutani Na Chaham Teshvavastita. This is Krishna, who is understood by Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva philosophy. Purnasya Purna Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Krishna is always complete, and although he can create millions of universes, all of them full in all opulences, he remains as opulent as ever, without any change, Advaitam. This is explained by different Vaishnavacharyas through philosophies such as Vishuddhadvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and Dvaitadvaita. Therefore, one must learn about Krishna from the Acharyas. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who follows the path of the Acharyas knows things as they are. Such a person can know Krishna as he is, at least to some extent. And as soon as one understands Krishna, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Ingyo Veti Tattvata, one is liberated from material bondage. Taktva Deham Punar Janma Naiti Mam Eti Sorujuna. Swayam Atmatma Govatsan Prativaryatma Vatsapai Kridan Atma Viharaischa Sarvatma Pravishad Vrajam. Now expanding himself so as to appear as all the calves and cowherd boys, all of them as they were, and at the same time appear as their leader, Krishna entered Vrajabhumi, the land of his father Nanda Maharaj, just as he usually did while enjoying their company. Purport. Krishna usually stayed in the forest and pasturing grounds, taking care of the calves and cows with his associates, the cowherd boys. Now that the original group had been taken away by Brahma, Krishna himself assumes the forms of every member of the group without anyone's knowledge, even the knowledge of Baladev, and continued the usual program. He was ordering his friends to do this and that, and he was controlling the calves and going into the forest to search for them when they went astray, allured by new grass. But these calves and boys were he himself. This was Krishna's inconceivable potency. As explained by Srila Jiva Goswami, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vrikritir Ladini Shakti Rasmat. Radha and Krishna are the same. Krishna, by expanding his pleasure potency, becomes Radha Rani. The same pleasure potency, Ananda Chinmaya Ras, was expanded by Krishna when he himself became all the calves and boys and enjoyed transcendental bliss in Vrajabhumi. This was done by the Yogamaya potency and was inconceivable to persons under the potency of Mahamaya. Tattar vatsan pritang nitva tattar goshte niveshyasa tattaratma bhavad rajangs tattat sadma pravishtavan. O Maharaj Parikshit, Krishna, who had divided himself as different calves and also as different cowherd boys, entered different cowsheds as calves. He entered different cowsheds as calves and then different homes as different boys. Purport. Krishna had many, many friends, of whom Sridama, Sudama, and Subal were prominent. Thus, Krishna himself became Sridama, Sudama, and Subal, and entered their respective houses with their respective calves.
Tanmataro venurava tarotita utapya dorbi parirabhya nirbharam sneha snutastanya payasudasavam matva param brahma sutan apayayan. The mothers of the boys, upon hearing the sounds of the flutes and bugles being played by their sons, immediately rose from their household tasks, lifted their boys onto their laps, embraced them with both arms, and began to feed them with their breast milk, which flowed forth because of extreme love specifically for Krishna. Actually, Krishna is everything, but at that time, expressing extreme love and affection, they took special pleasure in feeding Krishna, the Para Brahman, and Krishna drank the milk from his respective mothers as if it were a nectarian beverage. It's a sweet, sweet verse. Purport. Although all the elderly gopis knew that Krishna was the son of Mother Yashoda, they still desired, if Krishna had become my son, I would also have taken care of him like Mother Yashoda. This was their inner ambition. Now, in order to please them, Krishna personally took the role of sons and fulfilled their desire. They enhanced their special love for Krishna by embracing him and feeding him, and Krishna tasted their breast milk. Krishna tasted their breast milk to be just like a nectarian beverage. While thus bewildering Brahma, he enjoyed the special transcendental pleasure created by Yogamaya between all the other mothers and himself. Tato nripon mardana majjalepana Langara raksha tilakashanadhibi Sanglalita swacharitai praharshayan Sayam gato yama yamena madhava. Thereafter, O Maharaj Parikshit, as required according to the scheduled round of his pastimes, Krishna returned in the evening, entered the house of each of the cowherd boys, and engaged exactly like the former boys, thus enlivening their mothers with transcendental pleasure. The mothers took care of the boys by massaging them with oil, bathing them, smearing their bodies with sandalwood pulp, decorating them with ornaments, chanting protective mantras, decorating their bodies with tilak, and giving them food. In this way, the mothers served Krishna personally. Gavastato goshtam upeta satvaram hunkara goshai parihutta sangatan swakan vatsataran apayayan mohur lihantya sravaroda sampaya. Thereafter, all the cows entered their different sheds and began mooing loudly, calling for their respective calves. When the calves arrived, their mothers began licking the calves' bodies again and again and profusely feeding them with the milk flowing from their milk bags. Purport. All the dealings between the calves and their respective mothers taking care of them, all the dealings between the calves and respective mothers taking care of them were enacted by Krishna himself. Lucky cows, huh? They got to have Krishna as their calf, like directly Krishna himself as their calf. Go gopinam matritasmin asit snehardikang vina purovad asvapi hares tokata mayaya vina. Previously, from the very beginning, the gopis had motherly affection for Krishna. Indeed, their affection for Krishna exceeded even their affection for their own sons. In displaying their affection, they had thus distinguished between Krishna and their sons. But now, that distinction disappeared. Purport. The distinction between one's own son and another son is not unnatural. Many elderly women have motherly affection for the sons of theirs. For the sons of others. They observe distinctions, however, between those of other sons and their own. But now the elderly gopis could not distinguish between their own sons and Krishna, for since their own sons had been taken by Brahma,
Krishna had expanded as their sons. Therefore, their extra affection for their sons, who are now Krishna himself, was due to bewilderment resembling that of Brahmā. Previously, the mothers of Sridhama, Subal, and Krishna's other friends did not have the same affection for one another's sons. But now, the gopis treated all the boys as their own. Shukadev Goswami, therefore, wanted to explain this increment of affection in terms of Krishna's bewilderment of Brahmā, the gopis, the cows, and everyone else. Krishna even bewildered the cows. Vrokasam svatokeshu snehavalyabdamanvaham shanar nisima vavride yata krishne tapurvavat. Although the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi, the cowherd men and cowherd women, previously had more affection for Krishna than their own children, now for 1 year their affection for their own sons continuously increased, for Krishna had now become their sons. There is no limit to the increment of their affection for their sons, who are now Krishna. Every day they found new inspiration for loving their children as much as they loved Krishna. Okay, I think we're ending with this verse here, right? Yes, we are. Itam atmatmana. Oh God, let me try that again. Itam atmatmanatmanam vatsapala mishenasa palayan vatsapavarshan chikride vanagoshthayo. In this way, Lord Krishna, having himself become the cowherd boys and groups of calves, maintains himself by himself. Thus he continued his pastimes, both in Vrindavan and in the forest, for 1 year. Purport. Everything was Krishna. The calves, the cowherd boys, and their maintainer himself were all Krishna. In other words, Krishna expanded himself in varieties of calves and cowherd boys, and continued his pastimes uninterrupted for 1 year. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's expansion is situated in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. Similarly, instead of expanding himself as the Supersoul, he expanded himself as a portion of calves and cowherd boys for 1 continuous year. All right, so we'll find out what happens next tomorrow. I think this is where Balaram starts becoming suspicious. How is it for 1 year right? Is that what happens next? Let's see. One day, 5 or 6 nights before the completion of the year, Krishna, tending the calves, entered the forest along with Ram. Thereafter, while pasturing atop Govardhan Hill, the cows looked down to find some green grass and saw their calves pasturing near Vrindavan. Yeah, so this is where Balaram starts to understand what's going on. All right, this is such a... what to say about this chapter. It's so many teachings, so sweet. Maybe we could also read Srila Sridhar Goswami Maharaj gives a beautiful explanation of this pastime. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh my God, my fingernail's dirty. Sorry, that's embarrassing. Anyways, there, look at that. There's Krishna and his cowherd friends taking breakfast. Look, there are all the cows and calves giving extra affection to Krishna. And giving extra effect to their calves and cowherd boys. Right. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Shila Gorkisharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadasha Gunath Shara Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Nama Chai Shlahairas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's purports ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Krishna Vashata Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Hare Krishna. See you all.